Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Platform Saga. The Turso Platform API secures your user requests using bearer tokens encapsulated within the authorization header. These tokens, formatted as JSON Web Tokens, JWT or JOT, are crucial in the authentication process. They provide a secure method for verifying users, you, for granting access to the API, Turso, that manage all of your databases and their replicas. JWTs are preferred for their compact and self-contained way of securely transmitting user information, your information. Each JWT contains encoded JSON data, including claims about the authentication of the current user and other metadata. All of this is verifiable with a signature. Bearer tokens, being a type of HTTP authentication, are easily used across various types of HTTP requests, making them ideal for RESTful APIs like Turso's. In this video, you will learn how you can mint, validate, list, and revoke API tokens that you will use to authenticate with the Turso Platform API. These tokens are only to be used by you and not by end users of your platform. We will learn how to create and revoke database tokens in another video. First, you will need to have the Turso CLI installed. And once you're logged in using the CLI, you will need to generate a temporary token that we will use to create a permanent auth token. Before we get started accessing the API, you should know about the structure of the API endpoint. The base URL, api.turso.tech, is what we'll use to send API requests. Currently, Turso's API is at version 1, so this URL will have appended v1, then the name of all of our different resource URLs. Let's first begin by retrieving the temporary token from the Turso CLI using Turso auth token. We'll copy this token to the clipboard and use it next. Now if we go to the documentation for the platform API at docs.turso.tech, we can open the API token section and create our first token. Here we can see we have snippets to run this using curl, but the documentation also allows you to run these examples within each page. So here we'll paste the bearer token into the authorization accordion, and then we'll open the accordion for path and we'll give a name for our token. Once we execute this function, we'll get a successful body that contains the JWT that we'll copy and we'll use with all further requests that we make to the Turso API. If we now open the page to validate API tokens, if we update the value for bearer here and we paste in the value from the create successful response, we'll now see here that we have a successful response that includes that expiry that basically tells us that there is no expiry because this is a permanent API token. If we go to the list API endpoint, we can again pass that same header, bearer token value, and we'll get a successful response with all of our different API tokens. And here we can see at the bottom of the list that we have that new API token. Turso doesn't store any of the API token values, so you'll need to make sure that you copy that value into some kind of environment variable. Finally, we'll move on to revoking tokens, and we can revoke a token by name by updating the path here and then passing in the API token. If we go back to validate and pass that same token that we've just revoked, we should see here that we have a 401 response. In the next video, we will learn how we can invite team members and much more using the Authorization API with Turso.